We are officially halfway through the Forward campaign. This campaign is all about reaching and serving the next generation with a very tangible goal of raising $9.6 million over the next 2 years for the new day that we believe God is leading our church family into, which includes a building expansion project. Pastor Brent recently launched a new teaching series called Unstoppable, where we'll recap our goals related to the building project, but we'll also dive a little bit deeper into Brent's 4 words of prayer, risk, surrender, and joy. We believe these kinds of people, Jesus followers devoted to prayer, risk, surrender, and joy, lead to an unstoppable goal of helping more and more people find and follow Jesus. If you were around First MB a year ago, February and March 2020, before the pandemic, you were invited to pray about making a commitment to participate financially in the Forward campaign. And many of you did. At this midway point of our 2-year campaign, we all have the opportunity to examine our commitments again, or to commit to be a part of this project for the first time. In just a few weeks, we will all fill out and submit what we're calling the Midpoint commitment card. We'll have these cards available in the worship center and in the lobby for those of you who are joining us in person. If you're watching online, that's great too. We have the PDF and a digital version available to access anytime at forwardwichita.org. The card itself is pretty straightforward, but just so we're all on the same page, let's take a look at it together. First, we know that some of you might be new to Forward. Maybe you recently started attending First MB, or you weren't able to make a commitment last year. Our primary goal with this campaign from the beginning has always been to reach 100% engagement. So if you haven't participated yet, it's not too late. We'd love to have you join us now at the midway point, where you can make a 12-month commitment to help us reach our financial goal of $9.6 million. If that's you, just check the box and let us know what your commitment for this next year will be. Many of you already made a commitment to Forward last year. There's a spot on the card for you to fill in what that 2-year commitment is. Now, if you're like most of us, you probably remember talking and praying through this a year ago, and you know you have that number written down somewhere, but you may not be able to come up with it off the top of your head. That is totally understandable. I couldn't tell you mine right now either. So for you, you've got a couple options here. First, you could just write down something like yes or confirm, and we'll know that you plan to keep your commitment the same. If you're really curious and you want to track down what your actual commitment was, you should be receiving what we've been calling the Forward quarterly updates in the mail a few times throughout the year. The most recent one was mailed out in January, and those cards had personalized info inside. If you can't track those down, feel free to call or email the church office anytime, and our bookkeeper, Becky, would be glad to remind you where you're at with your commitment. For those of you who have already made a commitment, you basically have 2 options. You can either confirm your commitment from last year, or you can choose to increase your 2-year commitment. Now, we know 2020 was a really hard year, and for many of us, our original pledge was already a sacrificial stretch financially. If you've already committed, regardless of what your 2020 was like, we encourage you to hold on to faith and finish strong. And we again want to thank you so much for generously supporting our vision. Some of you may feel God prompting you to increase your commitment. Maybe 2020 was a great year financially for you. Or maybe the difficulties of last year stretched you, leading to an increase in your faith in God's provision for you and your family. If you're in a situation where you're able to go beyond your original Forward commitment, we ask you to prayerfully consider if God may have more in store for you. We ended up finishing the year really strong financially. Even despite the worldwide pandemic, we are really close to reaching our goal that we set for 2020. That by itself is amazing, but it is also true that we'll need to make up a little bit of lost ground this year in order to finish this campaign on schedule. These weeks, as we discuss prayer, risk, surrender, and joy, spend some time intentionally praying to God and talking with your family to see what you feel God is leading you to do. And if an increase is possible for you, we encourage you to dive deeper into faith that God will bless your gifts and provide for your needs. As a reminder, the Forward campaign includes gifts to both our building expansion project as well as our normal ministry operating budget. Any financial gifts that you give to First MB now through March of 2022 will help us advance in both of these goals. Mark your calendars. We will be submitting these updated commitment cards on Sunday, March 7th. If you've been with us in person, we will all turn these in together during the morning services. And if you're watching online, you can fill out the online version with us anytime, really, but we encourage you to participate with us together on March 7th. For all of you, we want to thank you again for your incredible generosity. Even with the year we've all had, you continue to be so faithful in your giving. So thank you for believing in this vision with us. We believe really good days are ahead for our church family, and we can't wait to see what God has in store for us as we wrap up this campaign together.